Cold weather has not prevented large numbers of enthusiastic skaters from visiting Queen's Ice Club each week. In contrast to most other clubs in the Union, its membership has been consistently high. While some like physical exertion, others prefer more artistic forms of relaxation. One of the highlights of the artistic year in college is the annual opera production. The Music Society this year chose Cherubini's opera Lodoiska, which was produced by Anthony Addison. Evidence of the production began to appear all over the college, from publicity photographs in the Union to sandwich boards in the cloisters. This was the first performance of the work in this country, and the orchestral scores had to be obtained from Milan. The producer replaced many previously edited lyrics and translated the choral scripts from the original French. The stage set was specially designed and constructed, and the lighting was carefully planned. Many rehearsals took place in the music room.
The lady we're trying to find. The lady we're trying to find.
Count Pulaski's. What? Yes, Stanislavski. W.O.B. There.
Ultimately, the cast rehearsed on stage, as yet without costumes. Scenes like this need to be well timed and practiced to appear spontaneous. The experiment of placing the orchestra behind the scenery added complications for the producer, who conducted while listening to the front stage effects by intercom and headphones. The first complete run was made on the Sunday afternoon before the first performance. Until then, only separate scenes had been rehearsed. A helping hand is particularly useful for winding oneself into a costume, and makeup drastically alters one's personality. We show here an excerpt from the end of Act 2. At this point, Count Floreski and Warbel, his servant, have entered the castle where Baron Dorlinsky holds Lodoiska prisoner. They have drugged the servants set to spy on them, and are debating how best to rescue Lodoiska. At this moment, the Baron enters, realizes their intentions, and summons the guard to arrest them.
On
One of the new clubs formed this year has been the weightlifting club. Its members may often be seen in the garage, snatching, pressing and heaving the weights, and doing various exercises. One or two of the more experienced members of the club can lift up to 300 pounds. Most members, however, are just concerned with keeping themselves fit. The other sports clubs carried on at their usual level of activity, and the college rugby team reached the semi-final of the university rugby competition. One of the most important events this term has been the election for President of the Union. Unfortunately, the campaigning did not arouse much interest, and the hustings themselves were a complete farce. The candidates were Trevor Soquel and Robert Taylor. Taylor was proposed by Peter English, who provided the best speaking of the afternoon. Soon after, the proceedings degenerated completely, with encouragement from most present. Roseman, unable to restrain his exhibitionist tendencies, volunteered to remove his trousers. More of the same soon followed, and the chairman, Brian Knight, had his trousers forcibly removed. On this crude note, the hustings finished. It must have given all present a remarkable chance to assess the merits of the candidates. It is perhaps not surprising that less than 700 people bothered to vote. Elections for the rest of the executive, however, aroused much more interest. Stuart Chalfin was elected MVP and Sue Jones WVP. One of the defeated candidates for WVP, Trixie Thorpe, had the consolation of winning the individual prize for the best model in the university fashion contest for the second year running. There have been several notable visitors to college this term. Among them was Hugh Gateskill, who came to address the College Labour Society and answer questions put to him by members of the audience. He met with a very mixed reception, with jeers and boos from the CND supporters when he criticised their sit-down policy. Pin-ups, politicians and royalty are often photographed, and whether your only ambition is holiday snapshots or to be a budding press photographer, and whatever the camera you use, Photographic Society caters for your interests. 8 years have passed since Jazz Society was associated, and this term saw FOTSOC join the ranks. It is the largest non-departmental society, and since it has its own rooms and expensive equipment, its members thought it should be associated. Union Council, with an eye on the financial aspects, readily agreed, and a general meeting overwhelmingly voted for FOTSOC association. The darkrooms are in the basement of the Union, and members can do their own developing, printing and enlarging. They often attain a very high standard, as can be seen by the prints displayed in the annual exhibition. About 120 prints and even more transparencies were submitted for this year's exhibition, which was on view in the North Cloisters for 3 days. Prints on show were of a higher standard than in previous years and were judged by Mr. Owen Thomas, a freelance photographer. Soon after the exhibition, the Society held another of its regular meetings, at which members exchanged notes and advice in an informal atmosphere. In addition, talks and demonstrations suitable for all levels are held, along with portraiture sessions at which members can gain experience. FilmSoc welcomes the youngest associated society and hopes that its services will develop into an integral part of college life. New associations, old associations. This term saw the departure of Charlie the Beadle, who had been at the college for 14 years. His last official appearance was at a college debate early in February. During his time at college, Charlie has carried in the mace many times. As a token of appreciation, he was presented with a silver tankard. Just before he left, the union gave a party in his honour, at which he was presented with a cheque for £30 and a list of signatures expressing gratitude for his services. Taken over the Green Man and Still, a pub in the city. Shortly after, he invited the staff and some students for an evening at the pub. Charlie hopes that UC pub crawlers will visit him regularly.
Time, gentlemen, please.
A club which has recently become more active is the Gliding Club. It has this year been affiliated to CAB, and several students are now taking full advantage of its facilities. Invigorated by hot coffee, members of the club set out early in the morning for the gliding centre at Lasham, Hampshire. While waiting for a flight, members act as ground crew for others. Here, the glider has just been brought to the launch point. The glider may be launched by winch, aerotow, or, as here, by tow car. The wire is brought to the glider and attached to its nose. On the signal, the tow car begins the launch. Once the tow wire is dropped, the characteristic high climbing rate stops and the descent begins. Between flights, members inspect the more advanced Olympia, a high-performance single-seater. Gliding Club provides a wonderful chance for students to learn the sport with a minimum amount of expense. Our cameraman was so impressed, he joined the club himself.